What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Chuck Kohout, Always Be Closing. I'm going to take you through the next deal structure. I hope you've been enjoying this video series so far, and it's my sincere hope that it changes your life and gets you into the world of creative real estate like it did mine. So now we're going to go over subject to transactions. I see a lot of people talking about these on YouTube. However, I just don't think that anybody is actually doing them. I'm going to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Here you go from the top. Subject to deals, the way that these transactions work, and you're going to have to know a little bit about title to get them closed. There is a deed and a mortgage for almost every property you're going to deal with. The deed is what transfers ownership. The mortgage is what secures debt against the property. They're going to be in the name of the seller, unless the seller is dead or it's complex. And let's accept right now, before we go any further, that every transaction is different. These things are like snowflakes. There is no cookie cutter. I've been doing this for 15 years and I'm still learning every day. Okay? You're going to meet the seller. You're going to buy the property. They're going to deed it over to you. Once they deed it over to you, you are now the owner. However, the mortgage is going to remain in their name. We're all going to accept right now that since I think it's the Federal Depository Act of 1982 and the Garn St. Germain court case, which actually kind of invalidated this for estate planning purposes, which is why we buy properties in trusts, and I'm going to get into that later, makes this completely legal and above board. So think about it this way. If any of you guys are seasoned investors and you bought a property, took out a mortgage, then you took it out of your name and put it into an LLC, that's perfectly fine. Now, technically, when you transfer title to a property and there's a residential mortgage on it, the bank can call that loan due. However, if you're dealing with people in pre-foreclosure and the leads that I'm giving you, these people are already in pre-foreclosure, they're 3 months behind or more. So once you transfer title, the bank is already calling that loan due and foreclosing. It's not like they can make you, or you can make the situation any worse. It's not like you're going to make them in foreclosure. So when you do own the house, you are going to be liable for some things like property taxes and insurance. Property taxes, it's a little known fact that if you don't care, you don't actually have to pay. They don't affect your credit. They just attach to the house. If they get sold off and it's another lien on the property, it's actually relatively cheap money. And in the event the payments are current and you keep mailing them in from a different checking account or something else, I have never once seen a case where the bank did not cash the check. I even like to call the banks now and tell them, hey, we're going to take the deed on this property and we're going to record it. And I haven't come up with many objections. Sometimes I get one or two. It's a little bit like the Clash of the Titans. They're like, well, you got to take out a new mortgage or find a way to assume this one. And I'm like, no. And they're like, oh. And we just keep moving on. It takes a long time to foreclose in this state. Eventually, what's going to happen? You're either going to current the payments and keep these things as a rental. And by the way, if you want to buy rental properties, you can only take out so many mortgages by yourself. But if you're buying properties subject to the existing debt, there is literally no limit to the amount of these deals you can do and the amount of rentals you can have. You can amass a pretty massive portfolio in a relatively short amount of time. Eventually, one way or another, whether you're going to sell this thing on a rent to own where somebody pays you, you pay the mortgage, or you just turn around and flip it to somebody else as the owner, they're going to have to take out new financing. When they do, and you hear these magic words, clear to close, means their money is ready. You're going to set up a closing with your lawyer and your title company. Don't worry, I'm giving you several of them in the book. And there's going to be a new deed created and a new mortgage taken out in the name of the buyer. You're no longer liable for property taxes or insurance. And if you were making money every month, I'm sorry, you just killed the goose that laid the golden egg. However, you probably just took home a big check. So let me give you a quick example. This is one of my first subject to deals. This was probably early 2005. This is in a little town I like to call Jersey City. And I actually bought this house from a girl who is how do I say this nicely? Let's just say she was a dancer. She financed this property and she immediately loaded it up with an abusive mother in the illegal basement apartment, and upstairs was completely her family. It was left out, vacant piece of cake. I had somebody living in the illegal basement apartment. I had to get them out. I started thinking, oh, this might be kind of a problem. Then I actually started thinking about abused children. I remember I did a quick Google search on my Trio 650, which took friggin' forever. And I called the little company or state organization called DYFS. They came over, and when they were at the door, they kept hearing, "Oh, Mom, don't hit me again!" We knocked on the door, they opened it up, and that was one of the quicker evictions that I ever did. I actually realized that the payments on this thing weren't too bad. I rented it to a lovely family of Dominicans. Mom and Dad lived upstairs. Sister and her husband lived on the second floor, and their brother, who liked to party, lived in the basement. They'd pay me, I'd pay the mortgage, they'd pay me, I'd pay the mortgage. This is what this deal wound up looking like. I was into it for 10 bucks. I picked it up for $3.89. I sold it for $4.89. I did have to do some minor repairs because, I mean, the basement apartment was a little screwed up. After I paid everybody's closing costs, and I even gave the buyer a rate buy down to get her a better rate on her mortgage, I netted a meager $76,903.56. It's better than a poke in the eye with a sharp stick. I hope you guys think that's pretty cool. And it's almost a year that I had a complete rock star breakdown. It was a lot of fun. I'm going to give you guys a couple of the problems with Subject 2 deals. One of the biggest challenges there is going to be seasoning. If you buy one of these properties and you record a deed, a lot of times different lending organizations, FHA, may have seasoning guidelines that state that you have to own the property for 3 months, 6 months, sometimes even a year before you resell it. However, if you're going to rent it and have somebody pay you and you pay the mortgage and clean up their credit along the way, you could sell these things for top dollars. I think only something like 85% or 75% of the people out there can't get mortgages. It's a very small number of people who can. And if you get somebody who's got a cash business or who's got a job or maybe went through a divorce, and you put them in something like this and they've given you a down payment and you're renting it to them and you're cleaning up their credit, there's really literally nobody else that they can buy a house from, and you're doing a good thing. You're making a happy story. So believe it or not, sometimes when you get these things closed, you won't even believe that your job is real by how happy everybody is, buyer, seller, and you. All right, I'm Chuck Kohout. Always be closing. Click the link, get the course. Bye for now.